Mick, the last time I spoke to you, I believe it was before the London card. We kind of spoke about how your two fights that people have seen from you in the UFC, the Contender Series fight, and then the debut, were very different. The first one was chaotic. That guy came trying to take your head off on Contender Series, and then the actual UFC debut was a bit more technical, a bit more composed, and the fight in London last year was kind of the same thing. How satisfied have you been with the two performances? Because I think that a lot of people now have, the Contender Series fight was so chaotic that now people have started to actually, I think get a gauge of what you're good at and what your game is.
Yeah, it was the contender one was over quite quick. So even though it was a lot of striking and a lot of wrestling and a lot of grappling in a short time, didn't get to see a lot of us really. But obviously London, I know it was mainly a striking fight, but people got to see a little bit more of us out there. And I think looked a little. Well, I felt like I looked good in the London fight, and maybe gained a few fans and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, going 2-0 in the UFC, like obviously you were one of the nominations that we had for breakthrough of the year, just because, to come from the shows that you were fighting on to a Contender Series win to then being 2-0 in the UFC. Right? I know that the heavyweight division tends to move faster than pretty much every other
Yeah.
division in the UFC, but even still, are you surprised at how quickly this has all kind of happened?
Yeah, well, it's mad now. Two fights in the UFC and nearly 4.5 weeks till my third one now. Uh, I just want to fight as much as possible, really. As long as I'm fit and healthy, I just try and think, oh, get a fight out of the way, maybe a couple of months, and then have another one. I try and aim for like maybe 3 or 4 a year, but obviously it depends on injuries. You can't really plan it out. But I'm just trying to stay active as possible, really.
Yeah, I mean, to contrast that, your opponent coming up, Mohammed Usman, obviously a guy that when you've got that surname, you're gonna have a some kind of spotlight on you. He was kind of coming through a lot of his earlier fights whilst Kamaru was still the champion. So there was so much talk around him, and then being on the Ultimate Fighter and stuff. It feels like even though that I'd watched your fights before the UFC, I feel like I've seen so much of Mohammed Usman because his career has played out with a like I said, like a spotlight on whatever he's doing, and then obviously to make it to the UFC is impressive. What have you made of Mohammed Usman? Because like I said, we've kind of watched his development happen fight by fight. Because like I said, the name, but also the guy is clearly a very talented athlete who, probably could have been successful in multiple sports if he had gone down those routes. But he is in MMA, and like I said, I think his skill set is kind of getting better every fight. But what do you make of him?
Yeah, so obviously I knew who he was again because of Usman and stuff like that. I think he got a lot of following because obviously winning the Ultimate Fighter as well. I think that got you like a lot of people watching him and stuff like that. And then obviously with his brother being world champion, I think a few more people were like, oh, his brother must be good too. Uh, yeah, like you said, he's definitely an athlete. It's heavyweight, so like everybody's powerful. Everyone can knock anybody out. So that's like, just a given whoever you fight. Uh, he's definitely explosive. Uh, I think he goes from like nothing to really quick, and he's definitely dangerous. I think I've got to be switched on the full fight because he's definitely powerful. But I think it's a good matchup for me, and I jumped at the chance when I got the message saying that his opponent pulled out because it was like obviously it's not really short notice. His opponent pulled out and he gave me like 8 weeks, which is like basically a camp anywhere. So I was already training, but I felt like it was my third fight in the UFC. I think it might be his fourth or something. So I think it's like evenly matched, really. I think he's maybe had a few more fights than me professional, but and like I said, he's a big following, so I feel like it's a really good, be a really good win for us.
Yeah, to be honest, because of how long ago the fight got announced, I didn't even know that he had an opponent already for that day and that it was a late notice replacement. I think a lot of UK guys will have been probably targeting a March fight around that time. We do tend to get a UK event over here, but not happening this time around. But was that kind of time frame something you were looking at anyway before the Usman fight came across your table?
Yes, well, I sport them, and obviously I had my fight in November. I wasn't too injured, obviously a little banged up and like some swell, black eye, nothing too bad. So I realistically I was going to aim for maybe late February, early like March anyway. Like that was in my head roughly. So it was perfect. Really got the message said, oh, it's March 23rd. Like I said, it was perfect.
What do you make of? I'm sure you have it's just a fact of the heavyweight division, like you said earlier, right? Everyone's got power, whether they're an impressive athlete or whatever. But in terms of this matchup, Mohammed Usman is a guy that is very physically impressive and hits hard. But I feel like you already said that this matchup you think suits you well. I would imagine that you see people like that and go, well, I'm going to be technically better. So as long as, I don't get caught with anything silly and I'm concentrated and focused, dialed in for the whole fight. Like, I feel like these matchups are kind of a little bit of your bread and butter just because, you're a bit more technical and a bit more calculated than a lot of these guys at heavyweight.
Yeah, exactly. It's like obviously anybody can get caught and stuff like that. Anybody can like, heavyweight, you've got to be switched on for the full 15 minutes. But yeah, so like I says, everybody I think the same thing that would knock you out. Any heavyweight can. But I do feel like I'm a little bit more technical in them in like all areas and stuff like that. And like people do like fade away or explosive and crazy. It's just they've always got that first couple of minutes while they're dangerous. So long as I don't get caught flat foot in front of them, I think I'll be all right.
One of the things that I'm sure contributes massively to that approach is your work with the likes of Tom Aspinall and stuff over at the setup that you guys have got up north. I do a podcast every week with Modestas Pekauskas, who has been out with you guys for a little bit over the last couple of weeks. So I know that he's looking to make that a regular fixture of his training camps going forward. So I've been getting some insight into that and everything. It feels like for you, the timing couldn't have been any better in terms of you coming into the UFC at the time where Tom is like hitting that top pinnacle in the heavyweight division to where he's able to kind of create this. I've never seen anything like it, honestly. This kind of like unit of big guys all in the north of England. You've got everything you need there. I mean, the photos that you guys have on the mats, like the talent level, but not only like this is something I was saying to Mo the other day. The talent level is there, but the size is obviously a huge part of it. He was saying about how he's never been on a mat where he's like the smallest guy on the mat, but also there's no like discrepancy in terms of okay, you've got big guys, but you haven't got the talent. Like the talent level is crazy as well. Like I'm sure that is a huge benefit, and like I said, it feels like perfect timing really for you to be able to make the most out of that.
Yeah, it's so obviously every big guy's in the same problem. Sparring partners. So most places maybe have one or two, maybe three at the most. So like you've got to just move about, travel. But I said it's really hard to get them together. Really, it's hard. Like I'm looking at my gym up at Sunderland. I've got a big fella the freestyle all the time. So he's my main training partner at home. So I've got him like day in day out. There's a few of the big guys, maybe it's three or four. But like you said, like to have high competition and like professional fighters, there's maybe well, then the match down now. There's maybe five or six at the time. High level guys, and just sometimes big guys you just need somebody really big, and there's some giants down there. Really, like I'm nowhere near the biggest. Like I'm one of the smallest, maybe. Sometimes you go, there's guys that like who are 6'9", there's guys that were like 150 kilo, and they're all really competitive sparring. That's sometimes what you want to go down. So like I said, I'm down with literally at the moment, training with Tom. I'll do like 2 or 3 days down here, and then I'll be traveling back home, do the rest of my week there, then just a couple of days down here, a couple of days back home. So it's a perfect blend, really.
I mean, there's a lot of characters as well in and around that gym. I mean, I will never forget waking up to the story of Phil catching a pigeon at the London event last year. Insane athleticism for that man. It's remarkable. He's got a grappling match coming up, right, with Josh Barnett, which is like some like you literally could have told me that a couple of months ago, and I would have been like, that's not true. That's mental.
He's well, usually he will be down here with me training now, but obviously he's fighting this Saturday, so he's not training too hard this week and just chilling out. So yeah, he usually comes down with us, but he's absolutely crazy. He's one of a kind. How mental he is. But just the pigeon thing, like if you could follow him daily, which obviously I'm with him quite a lot now, that's just like a small thing of him. He just lives his life, does these absolutely crazy things, and just completely normal to him.
The strange thing is, right, and I think people maybe don't see this side of Phil. He doesn't do a ton of media and things like that. And obviously, fighting in KSW, they have a huge fan base over in Europe, but it doesn't tend to translate over here as much. Like, I remember watching him when he was on the MMA Hour and comes across just like a super normal guy that you wouldn't expect this from him. And so when I see things like that from Phil, I'm like, the guy is such a character. I wish that, you know, there was more of a presence for KSW over here in the UK, because I feel like people would absolutely love him in the same way that a lot of people have gravitated to Tom as like, yeah, he's an elite fighter, but you know, he's the kind of guy that you'd bump into in the pub and he'd buy you a drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, it's obviously huge in Poland, and anybody that recognises him is usually Polish or Eastern European. But I think he did say he likes it quite a lot because when he goes to Poland, he is like quite a big celebrity. Really, like people are non-stop stopping him in the streets for pictures in Poland, stuff like that. But he says he likes to come back home. He takes his girls to the park, and few people notice him, but not many. So he can live like a normal life. Where I feel like now with Tom, especially winning that belt, I think he'll be starting to get more bombarded with people in the street. Like when I've walked about him all the time, it'd be about 3 or 4 people stopping pictures. So can get a bit, maybe a bit too much as well. So Phil does like it, but it's crazy how big it is in Poland. Like when I first went over
Yeah.
KSW, the show itself, the production's amazing. But yeah, like it's just different world. Like he's a superstar over there. It's crazy.
Yeah. Um, the one of the other personalities I know that you guys have had in and around the gym lately that Tom's been doing some stuff with is Eddie Hall. I spoke very briefly with Mo about him doing training there, and just, you know, like you said, a room full of like heavyweight guys, and yet you're one of the smaller guys there, which is insane to even imagine. But when you got guys like Tom and Eddie Hall training with you guys, it's just ridiculous. Like just the image alone is hilarious, because I know how big some of you guys are, and like you said, there are other people there that make you guys look small. It's proper
It's crazy
crazy.
just to get that many big guys at one man. I don't think anywhere in the world probably at the moment gets that
Yeah.
many big guys in one place. I don't believe it. And Eddie obviously was coming down. I think he was going to train for a fight. I don't know if that's happening now. The thing I saw the thing with the show. Maybe he's not being true, but or falling through or something. But yeah, he's good to have. And like I said, I feel like more people will I ask him about training with Eddie Hall. He's got like a huge following. So when I went back home, I was just in the gym lifting weights or whatever. People were like, "Oh, I see you train with Eddie Hall and stuff like that." So the social media presence is massive now, and I think his YouTube channel is huge. So the train with well, just even to be around him, stuff like that, you get noticed a little bit more. So that works out well for everybody. He was a nice guy too.
Yeah. An interesting the final thing I wanted to get your take on, obviously not only training with Tom but also being a contender in this heavyweight division yourself. What do you make of the whole confusion with the heavyweight title picture, with, you know, John being out for so long and then he's going to fight Stipe and stuff like that? Like, I'm sure that, you know, I don't think that anyone who criticizes John and Stipe for not fighting Tom and for taking so long for this fight to happen, I don't think anyone is, you know, we're all fans of John and Stipe, the things that they've done and stuff. But as someone that spends a lot of time with Tom, I can imagine that you can feel his frustration, even though he seems to kind of put it to a side at the moment and kind of just be focusing on what he can control. Like, what have you made of the whole thing? Because at the start of the year, it felt like the whole MMA world was constantly talking about it, whether you were, you know, Team John or Team Tom.
Yeah, it's obviously frustrating for Tom because obviously he wants to fight these great guys, and I don't think Jones has probably got that long left. So Tom's probably got a short window to fight him, especially come out injury. But I understand with Jones and Steve here, I think it's a lot more money for them to fight each other. And obviously, I don't know how they're feeling, but they could be thinking, oh, retiring in a year or two, get as much money as we can. I don't know, but that's a feeling I get that them are just happy with that fight. It's like a legacy fight for Jones fighting Steve, who's probably the best heavyweight, stuff like that. While Tom's young up and coming hungry, it's definitely more of a risky fight for them and potentially less money. So, but I don't know where Tom goes. I think Tom's happy to fight anybody just what the UFC does and stuff like that. But it would have been nice for him to fight one of them two guys. But I think Steve is just well, I think they both just said basically no. So Tom sort of called him out a little bit and stuff like that, get the ball moving, but they didn't seem really interested. So I don't know. There's still a few guys in the heavyweight division, but uh, who Tom would fight. But yeah, it's a shame because obviously them are just out of the heavyweight, them are the two biggest names by quite a lot. But I understand it with them as well. I think I don't think that I could be completely wrong here. They could be going want to go to 50. I don't know. Just the vibe I'm getting off people is probably that they're towards the end now and like looking to finish up. So you kind of blame them.
I mean, yeah, like as a heavyweight yourself, would you want to fight Tom Aspinall in your retirement fight? Like, doesn't sound very appealing if I'm being, especially when there's a bigger fight, like not a bigger fight necessarily in terms of the. I think fans would be a lot more excited to watch Tom versus either of those guys,
Yeah.
but like you said, probably more money there, and you know. I think that a lot of people would agree that Tom is a riskier fight for both of those guys than fighting each other too.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what it sounds like. So, like I said, they're probably doing what's smart for them. Really, it's a big crap for Tom, stuff like that. But there's a few guys from the fight now and stuff like that, and then more people will come around. But yeah, there's not much he can do. Like I said, he trains all the time, stuff like that. He's probably always ready to take fights. Well, look, he jumped in that fight, short notice, and looked amazing. So he'd be ready for anybody in the UFC. Given really, it just would have been nice for him to get like a big money fight.
Yeah, well, exciting times for all of you guys. I don't know if this interview will be out before Phil's grappling match, but all the best for Big Phil and all of you guys. Like I said, you know, I think that this Usman fight has worked out in your favor in terms of the opponent pulling out and then you getting this spot because, like I said, Usman, you know, always brings a certain level of spotlight to him because of the name value alone, but also the Ultimate Fighter, like you said. So a great spot for you to be on. So yeah, I look forward to it, mate, and congratulations so far on the run in the UFC as well. It's been incredible to watch. So look forward to the next one, mate.
Right, thank you, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. See you later.